It's finally starting to feel like things are going back to normal with new movie releases every weekend, and this past weekend it was Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry is the newest movie for the Tom and Jerry animated franchise. It was directed by Tim Story and stars Chloe Grace Moretz and Michael Pena. It tells a live-action-esque version of when Tom and Jerry first met, sparking their bitter rivalry. I would consider the kid version of myself a Tom and Jerry fan. Every time it was on Cartoon Network growing up, I would watch it, really enjoyed it, just watching Tom and Jerry smash each other over the head constantly. It was really fun to watch, especially as a kid. But it's been a pretty long time since we've seen these two in action on the big screen. I think the last time we saw this was back in the 90s, and even then it wasn't released to the entirety of the world. It was only in select cities. In all honesty, I had no idea what to expect out of the 2021 Tom and Jerry movie, mostly because we have had barely any movies thus far, but it seems like as every weekend comes and goes, we'll be getting more and more movies, thankfully. But so far, the only film I've seen this year was another Warner Bros. / HBO Max film, The Little Things, and that one sucked. And guess what? I had deja vu. Tom and Jerry might have been even worse than that movie. In fact, I would say it's one of the worst movies I've seen over the last 5 years. Okay, I just want to get all the good things I have to say about Tom and Jerry out of the way before I absolutely go to town on the film's negatives, but the film's animation is actually pretty good. When the film integrates Tom and Jerry and the rest of the animated figures that look just like them, such as all of the animals in the movie, they are all animated, it's seamlessly done. They must have dressed an awful lot of people in green screen suits to bring these animated characters to life in a live action universe, because it really does look pretty good in this film. That's absolutely maybe my biggest positive in the film. And seeing Tom and Jerry on the big screen for the first time probably ever in front of a large audience really brought me back to my childhood when I watched Tom and Jerry as a kid on Cartoon Network. When these two are going back and forth on the screen, bashing each other over the head with all kinds of objects, it brought me back to a certain kind of place. And that's why I somewhat appreciate this movie. It's not because of the movie itself, because this is not a good film. It's more so because they brought back some beloved animated characters from an animated franchise that many people grew up watching and loved themselves. And just having it here on the big screen for people of all ages to watch, I at least appreciate that, since we haven't seen these characters given much attention over the last 2 decades. So it's at least nice that they paid some homage to Tom and Jerry, the characters, bringing them on the big screen. Alright, well, with all of my positives out of the way, it's time for me to dig into my negatives, because I have more than just a few. The film is called Tom and Jerry, right? You expect to see Tom and Jerry in maybe 60, 70, or 80% of the film. They should be in a majority of this movie. But that's not the case at all. In fact, this movie is probably 40% Tom and Jerry and 60% human characters. The human characters eat up most of this movie's time. So why am I paying to watch a movie that's called Tom and Jerry if Tom and Jerry aren't even the main characters? And it's not like these human characters are interesting. It's not like I like them or anything. I thought they were all quite boring and hated their guts for a majority of this movie. None of them are likable, and I did not care about a single character in Tom and Jerry besides Tom and Jerry. I mentioned this earlier, but 99% of the film is in live action, and everything is in live action except for the animals in the movie. So my main question is, do all of the human characters see all the animals as cartoons in real life? Like, are animals just 2D figures in this universe? Or is that just something the audience only sees and is there for the kids, and in reality they see actual dogs and cats and real live action animals? That is my main question about this film, because they made that not at all clear. And with all the animals animated in a live action universe, it felt like this movie was a live action cartoon. And that's not just because of the animated animals, it's also due to the film's script, which, if you did not tell me this is for a live action movie, then I would probably think this movie is 100% all cartoon. Some of the dialogue is straight up from a cartoon. The characters say some really dumb things. Things in this movie happen that are super unrealistic. This movie is not the kind of movie that should be made into a live action film. It should have been all animated, but for some reason, the people behind the making of this film decided they wanted it to be live action with animated animals, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. This is not Looney Tunes. This is Tom and Jerry. It's not meant to be live action. The music in Tom and Jerry is all over the place. We hear songs from T-Pain, Flo Rida, Rick Ross. Who in their right mind thought that having Rick Ross perform some music in a kids movie would be a bright idea? The movie is also a comedy film, but the real joke of the movie is that I did not laugh once, except for times when it was unintentionally funny. Your job is to make me laugh. You had one job to get right, and you completely failed. The acting in Tom and Jerry is not good. As I said, this should have been an animated movie, because every character written in Tom and Jerry feels like a cartoon character. The movie is extremely predictable, and it insults your intelligence more than one time, probably multiple times. I could see myself doing a video analysis on Tom and Jerry, picking apart every single scene, but who has the time for that? There is no reason for me to do such a video, because this movie is a complete waste of time. I get it. They wanted to honor the characters of Tom and Jerry, put them in a theatrical film, and they probably thought the best way of doing that would be to have this as a live action movie. But of course, that does not work whatsoever for the characters of Tom and Jerry. They are solely meant to be cartoon characters in a cartoon environment, not in a live action world. So I'm giving Tom and Jerry a 37%. It's not the worst of the worst, but it certainly could have been a lot better. I have no idea what the creators of these movies have been doing recently. It's Tom and Jerry. It shouldn't be too complicated. They are beloved animated characters, and we always have a good time seeing them in animated form. But what the heck was this movie? They should have just done what the Peanuts movie did 5 years ago instead of this mess. Of course, though, guys, if you happen to see Tom and Jerry over the weekend, and if so, did you watch it on HBO Max or in theaters? Be sure to let me down below in the comment section what your thoughts are of it. And speaking of theaters, there are some new movies coming out this weekend. Thankfully, it will be the first time that I saw any movies in the theater since Tenet, so that's going to be awesome. I have 2 new movie reviews coming out later this weekend, as well as my review finally for The Last Samurai, and WandaVision is coming to a close this weekend, so I have a lot of videos coming up for you guys. Get ready for all of those. As always, if you are new to my channel, click the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.